Hey guys, and welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast with me, Alex Whiteley. I can finally record the intros and outros to this podcast because I finally have a voice. I want to send out a huge apology to Rachel, aka Spirograph Girl. We were supposed to do an interview a few days ago, but I had to bail because if you take a listen to this.
Hi Rachel, you're right. A quick voice note. I'm gonna have to rearrange tomorrow's podcast simply because I can barely talk.
Preposterous, absolutely. How can a guy who uses his voice to entertain people lose his voice? It was absolutely insane. So I had to cancel that. I also didn't want to make anybody else ill. And that was recorded the day after I recorded this episode you're about to hear. So it goes to show how quickly you can fall down. It is the time for it. But I get really offended when it's my voice that goes because, you know, I love my voice. It does lots of great things around this town. Today's episode is coming to you from Oswestry Library. I'm speaking to Lizzie, who's going to be talking to me about a shared wardrobe called With Love From. The idea is that with your library card, you can take out an item of occasion wear to take to a prom, to a library, to a wedding. You're going to take it back to the library, but you can take it to a wedding, a nice event, and then you take it back after you've laundered it. And it's a really simple idea, and it's just brilliant. It's just one of those ideas that I feel like people get paid a lot of money or get lots of recognition for the most simple of ideas. I mean, look at Uber, for example. You know, you use an app to go from A to B in a car, but yet we had hackney cabs and taxis for decades. Yet that's considered a unicorn idea. So, I mean, this is a great idea because I feel like the libraries that we see today are completely different to the ones we saw when I was a kid and when we were younger. The community spaces that offer so much. And in this episode, at the end, I will be speaking to Siobhan, who works at Oswestry Library. He's a good friend of mine. We used to work at Shrewsbury Prison together. Good times, absolute good times. But I'll speak to Siobhan as well at the end about these amazing community spaces that we need to protect and what they offer the community. Really cool one for this episode. And if you stick around at the end when I do my outro, I'll explain to you what's going on at Shrewsbury Castle. I was just there a couple of days ago. They opened up the castle just for me. They're doing their winter maintenance. And Richard, who's been on the podcast before, was there with Nick, who I'm going to be speaking to. And they opened it just for me. It was incredible. So thank you for opening up the castle. And there's some really cool things going on there. If you like the TV show Traitors, you're going to want to stick around to the end of this podcast and I'll explain to you exactly what is going on. Right, without further ado, I'm going to take you into this. This is me at Oswestry Library speaking about a shared wardrobe. It's a really cool idea. Enjoy. Catch you at the end.
Said I took my lumps, roll with the punches, made my bed, ignored my hunches. I focused on the wrong stuff, but baby, you are the change now. Let them talk, let them talk, let them talk. Took my lumps, roll with the punches, made my bed.
Okay, guys, today we've ventured to another part of Shropshire, which is great. Which is allowed. We're allowed to go into Shropshire. We're at Oswestry today in the Oswestry Library. Great place. I used to spend a lot of time here, working here when I was in the rough sleeper team. You used to find me in a corner, typing away on my computer, making a plan for the day. It is a great place. It really is a great place, which offers many, many things to the community. And I'm here today because I've made an effort to be, I want to make more of an effort, should I say, to be more out in the community because it's really important. And I'm with Lizzie today, who we're talking about a shared wardrobe, amongst other things that the library offers, right, Lizzie?
That's right, yeah. So the shared wardrobe is part of a sustainable fashion project based in Oswestry at the moment. But we're hoping to take it further. And the shared wardrobe we started building a shared wardrobe of occasion wear and we brought it into Oswestry Library. So now that people can borrow an outfit in exactly the same way as you borrow a book. So it works in exactly the same way. It's completely free. You can renew items just like you would renew books. You borrow items for 3 weeks at a time, just like the books. You take them up to the counter and check them out. They've all got a barcode on, just like the books. So it is exactly the same. And it's been working so well. We've had such a positive response to it.
I'm going to be a bit slow with my responses today. My throat is killing me.
Oh, no.
It's that time of year, isn't it? You know, I sound really husky, actually. Where does this idea come from, Lizzie? How long has it been an idea of yours?
So a few years ago, I was studying, and as part of the course that I was doing, there was one of the lecturers directed us to a website where you can check your own carbon footprint. And in answering different questions about my carbon footprint and, you know, recycling at home and how we heated our home and how we traveled to work, all of these different elements, food and food waste, they started asking me about clothing and how often I bought new clothing and what I did with my clothing when I no longer wanted it or needed it. And it hit me that the fashion industry, for me anyway, had escaped a lot of the scrutiny that other industries are facing around sustainability and the planet. And when I was very young, my nan taught me how to knit and sew and make clothing. And I'm no expert by any means, but I had some idea of clothing composition and what went into, you know, the work that went into making a piece of clothing, and the fabrics and how they were put together. And I hadn't made that connection between my wardrobe choices and the planet. And I think for lots of us, it's out of sight, out of mind. And we all have an idea of what clothes are made of and how they're produced and the conditions that lots of people live and work under. But I think because we don't see it day in, day out, because it's not having a direct impact on our community in this part of the world, we don't make those connections, but it is having a huge impact on communities in other parts of the world.
It's very important that we do talk about these things because when something like, I think Primark, the introduction of Primark was such a big thing for the clothing industry, because then like the things like F&F in Tesco and as George and Asda all grew into these kind of like conveyor belts of just like clothes that aren't very like, okay, I am bad for this, right? And maybe you can help me learn, because I love my black and my white t-shirts. I'll buy like a pack of 5 black and pack of 5 white. And if I get food down it, or if I ruin one thing, it'll go to like my sort of lounge sitting around the house wear, and then eventually it'll get downgraded to something that'll probably end up in the rubbish, right? Maybe that's really bad of me. I mean, but I also have like clothes that I absolutely cherish as well. Does it matter? It's become a throwaway society, hasn't it?
I think with the introduction of fast fashion and I think as clothing has become cheaper, our respect for clothing has dropped as well. And what we have to understand is that there's a true cost to everything that we purchase, not just clothing, but everything. There is no piece of clothing out there that is completely sustainable or footprint free. Every item of clothing, whether it's made with regenerative cotton that's been grown organically, somebody has had to produce that. And so many hands are involved in every item of clothing. It's a hugely labor intensive industry. So it's affecting lots of lives through that whole life cycle, whether it's a cotton farmer in India and the water that's used to produce cotton.
I watched somebody creating cotton, and I didn't realize the work it goes into making cotton is incredible.
And that's, if it's not organic cotton, then there's pesticides involved in that, and those chemicals are really toxic and dangerous to wildlife, but also the humans, the farmers that are involved in that process.
Yeah.
And then our skin, when we're wearing clothing, polyester and plastic, around 70% of the clothing on the planet is derived from fossil fuels. So there's those complications as well. But then it's what it actually does to us personally, because our skin is so it absorbs a huge amount from our clothing. So we still don't fully understand the implications of all this plastic clothing against our skin.
And you're right as well. When I was young, I remember like sewing up socks and buttons back on things. And, if a button falls off something now, we're not necessarily going to go and sew one back on, are we?
No, there's a huge throwaway culture. And we do...
The power is not plugged in.
Oh.
I've got battery power, but it will only last. Sorry about that. We had to stop because it wasn't charging. Sorry, my thing. So it's a throwaway. It is a throwaway culture. You're right. It has become that.
So I think it links into that respect thing, doesn't it? So if we can buy a pack of cotton t-shirts that we love to wear for the same amount of money that we can buy a coffee or a sandwich, then we're going to treat it in the same way that we treat that coffee cup or that sandwich packet, and we're not going to have the same respect for it. But talking about that whole chain, the clothing doesn't go away. We might put it in a bin or donate it to a charity shop and think we've done something good by donating it to charity. But then a huge amount of clothing is sent to other countries and is impacting communities around the world in other negative ways. So 14 million items of clothing arrive in one second-hand clothing market in Ghana every single week. So Oswestry is a market town, and this second-hand clothing market in Ghana is huge. It's a massive retail centre. It's a huge clothing market, second-hand clothing market. But 14 million items of clothing arriving every single week. Can you imagine that amount of clothing arriving in Oswestry? It's forming hillsides. There is cattle trying to graze on top of mountains of our discarded clothing. Some of it still has the tags on it because nobody's ever even worn it, or it hasn't reached our homes. The stores discard unsold clothing because it's not cost effective for them to try and recycle it, promote it again, post it on a website, update the sales tag. If they can't sell it, they just get rid of it because it's that mass production and it works on a different system.
And this is the thing, isn't it? When we talk about like throwing things in the bin, it's gone forever, right? We worked with Shrewsbury Food Hub before when we talked about how people waste so much food. Like they will just especially this time of year, there's probably still things in the fridge going off from Christmas that you didn't touch. Do you know what I mean? Like, time to empty the fridge, guys. But but being a bit more thoughtful about what you buy and how it's going to impact you, and then afterwards, because we talk about the plastic island that's floating around in the Atlantic at the moment, and the Pacific. Is it the Pacific? The Great Pacific?
They're everywhere. So plastic doesn't break down; it breaks up into tiny pieces, and sometimes it's not visible to the human eye. Those micro nanoplastics that are floating around, and they're in our bodies, they're in our blood, they're in nearly every organ that it's impossible to find clean human blood now. These plastics are having a huge impact, and we still don't fully understand the impact that it's having on us as as humans, but as a planet, as an existence. There's plastic everywhere, and I mentioned earlier about 70% of the clothing on the planet being derived from fossil fuels and plastic synthetic materials. They're around forever. They're not going anywhere. So we can throw them away and then they can go to a second-hand clothing market, or somebody can send them to landfill. But if they're so another statistic, one bin truck full of textiles is incinerated or sent to landfill every single second. Every single second. So we've been talking for how many seconds here?
Wow.
Bin truck full of textiles And there's just too much. We're overproducing and over-consuming, and it's just...
Eventually it's going to get to... Have you seen the movie WALL-E? Where,
yes, absolutely. Yeah,
I think it's going to get to that point where it's just going to overflow.
It's predicting the future, isn't it, that movie? I think it's so... I think, everyone should watch it. It's
Absolutely, I agree.
It's a real insight into what we could be faced with, from a planetary point of view, but from a societal point of view as well. Everyone floating around in those little pods and not communicating with each other.
Everybody's in their own bubble at the moment. It really is. Whether it's politically, emotionally, whether it's social media, whether it's like consumerism, everybody's just wrapped up in their own little thing and doing their own little thing and not really concerned about what's going on about others. We're just talking to Siobhan, who will hopefully get on here in a bit, a good friend of mine, about the library and about like societal charities, how that seems to become the bottom rung of the ladder at the moment, helping people out. There are good people out there doing things, and I have worked with amazing people. But when it comes to corporations, big money, no one's really paying attention to what's going on.
And so the issues that I've mentioned about the fashion industry, and I'm a huge nerd, and once I start down I love research, and once I start learning about something, I have to keep going and find out more. And I went down a huge rabbit warren of discovery, I suppose. And like I mentioned about I had some kind of background information there. And so I started talking to friends about whether they'd made that connection and whether I was just sitting out of it in a bubble somewhere. And they were like, no, I haven't, and started sharing with them what I'd learned. And I found that I wanted to make some change. Nobody wants to destroy the planet or do something
I don't know.
bad.
I think somebody might be there.
No, the majority of us want to help and want to support our community, whether that's our local community or, there's that saying about think global, act local. Yeah. So there are actions that you can take, and I wanted to help other people to make an impact, and I wanted to make a bigger impact than just making changes to my wardrobe choices. I wanted to help other people change their mindset about clothing and their wardrobe choices, and to raise some awareness for what's going on and start helping people make those connections, and not just about their wardrobes, but about everything we consume and everything we purchase. We have to just slow down a little bit. And I think that has to come from communities. Governments are going to be too slow to make changes. Yes, there are things that governments could be doing to support this, but businesses and brands are not going to change this unless we as communities get together, and individuals as well, citizens. We need to wake up to this and think about how we talk about politics and elections and voting, but we have it within our power to vote every single day with our wallets and choose how we spend our money and who we spend our money with. That's really powerful. And as citizens and individuals, you can make a really big statement by choosing more carefully and more consciously, more considered.
It's nice to see. I mean, a few years ago, when we were doing, I used to have a podcast called Thor's Kin. It's a cheeky little play on words. Anyway, it was a funny little podcast we used to do. I always wanted to interview a guy called Boyan Slat. Boyan was a guy that at the age of 16 created he invented the devices that float on the oceans and suck in all the plastics.
Oh, amazing.
So he invented that when he was 16, and he's been out in Malaysia clearing up all the rivers and stuff. He's doing amazing things. Always wanted to interview that guy, and I actually spoke to someone attached to him, and they were like, he's busy, he's in Malaysia. Okay. Because people like that are making a huge difference, and it's people like that put themselves out there to help other people. And then there are people that are attached to like a huge machine like Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is one of the biggest YouTubers on the planet. And while he does a lot of consumerism-based things, he's kind of like, he opens up these burger joints and stuff and gets people around. He's also clearing up the ocean as well. So he sees the problem, but he's got his influence and doing good things. He's not attached to a big corporation though. He's not Nike. He's not Reebok. He's not looking at his profit line. He's doing these things because he wants to. He just happens to have that influence. Isn't it amazing when somebody, has that power to do good on a whole scale like that and chooses to do it? Because these are the people we champion. These are the things that we remember, right?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Absolutely.
And you are starting something very special here in Oswestry with the shared wardrobe, because you're affecting people's ability to throw those things away, to give them a new lease of life, and also the people that are struggling. I can't go out there and buy a prom dress. I can't go out and buy a suit. I can't go buy a nice dress to go out with. They can come get one from the library now.
Absolutely. It's so accessible. I think libraries are hugely important in that community. They are huge community hubs, and there is so much happening in libraries that I think many of us haven't connected with. I think if you visit your local library and have a look at, ask some questions, find out what community projects and what services are being offered there. On the whole, they're for free and they are so accessible. It's intergenerational and it's a great way to connect with local people. If you've got a project or an idea or something you want to talk to people about, if you visit your library and talk to some of the staff there, I'm sure they'll support you in trying to give you a space to do that, or connect with people. They'll put you in touch with somebody who can help you. It's amazing, and I think libraries are so vital at the moment. I think we need to support our local libraries, and if this project can help bring a different audience into libraries and help a different group of people maybe connect back in with the library, they will find out about other services that are being offered that they might not have known about. So I think it helps the library, it helps people save money, it's helping to raise some awareness for the fashion industry and the challenges that that's causing for our planet. So it's an environmental win as well. There's so many different wins to what we're doing here, and I think so we've got the shared wardrobe of occasion wear, which people can borrow. If you borrow an item and you fall in love with it, we do a pay what you can scheme. So you can go onto our website, make a donation. It starts from about £5. So you could find a ball gown in there that you wanted to keep. We've had people buy a prom dress for £5 because they want to keep it a bit longer or they want to get it altered. We've got a collection of tired and damaged items. So if you borrowed an item from the wardrobe and, things happen, especially at parties, drinks can get spilled, dresses can get stepped on and things like that. So we only ask that people borrow them as if they were borrowing from a friend. So when you return it to the library, if you were borrowing an item from a friend's wardrobe and you took it back to them, you would give it back to them clean, and if something had happened you would tell them about it, so that if you hadn't been able to repair it or you were too nervous to clean it because you didn't know what to do with it or it was delicate fabric, you would tell them that, and then you could work out a way to get around it together. We've got an amazing team of volunteers. Some of those people pop into the library. It's hugely flexible because they can pop in whenever the library's open. There's not set hours that they have to do or restrictions on their time at all. They can just pop in. They pick up their name tag and they either they might tidy the rails, organise the outfits. They might go through the donations, and we've got a form in the back of our website so they can catalogue items and label them up. And again, the volunteers are intergenerational as well. We've got young school students or children even who come in with their parents and they like to write the labels out, or they'll, help with different bits and pieces in the wardrobe. And then we've got, grandparents coming in who, people who are retired and want to give something back to their communities. And they can literally pop in whenever they're free. And some of those volunteers in our volunteer group are amazing seamstresses and tailors. So if things do get really damaged, they can either... we also link in with our local repair cafe. So we've collaborated with them. So when they're having repair cafe sessions, we bring the rail of items that need small repairs. If they've got a spare few minutes in their session, they'll repair them for us, and then we make a donation to the repair cafe to support what they're doing. And the really tired and damaged items, so if they're beyond repair, really, stained or really damaged, we use them as part of sustainable fashion workshops, where we work with local fashion design students and enthusiasts, and they can cut them up, make them into something new. We've done projects with different schools and things, where they've maybe taken a prom dress, cut it up and made it smaller for children to wear. We've also got children's wear. We've got a dressing up collection in the junior library.
Nice.
So we don't catalogue those items. We're a bit more relaxed about them, and we've got canvas, like tote bags behind the counter, which are labelled up. So the parents or carers can fill the bag if they want to. They check out the bag at the desk, and then as long as the bag comes back, if those items, whatever's in the bag, the dressing up items, if they end up staying at the child's home forever while they're being loved, they can stay in the collection. So we don't itemise the collection. We don't, we're not too specific about the items that are in there.
If it offers a new lease of life to make a child's life a little bit happier, that's the goal, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's been hugely popular. Some of the really little ones like just playing with the dressing up outfits in the collection while they're looking at books as well. And some of the older children, we started it around World Book Day last year, which would be a huge stress for parents and families and children as well, I think.
Just draw a Harry Potter the thing on my... There you go.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. It inspires some creativity, I think. The amount of times I've been trying to sew something or pull something together on the morning of World Book Day as the children are like going out the door because they've been stressing about their outfits.
I think that's definitely something that when the kids are younger you put more enthusiasm into. When they get a bit older you're kind of like what do we do? Yeah. My wife's amazing though. She's always pulled the hat out of the bag with her. It's great. So what I wanted to ask for you, oh my God, words. Charity shops can sometimes become a bit of a dumping ground for people, and you see the Salvation Army bins outside supermarkets can just be like strewn with clothes everywhere. How do you moderate what people are bringing to you to make sure that you don't become that dumping ground? Yeah,
so I think that has been difficult. I think it's going to take time to get the word out there, and we're focused on occasion wear. So we have had some pieces dropped into the donation box that aren't occasion wear, they're more casual pieces. We've got that tired and damaged collection. So some of the items are items that have been returned to the library, tired and damaged, but some have been donated, tired and damaged, and we have to take them straight over there. But then having said that, we're over 1,000 items now in the collection, and around 10% of the items that have been donated are brand new with tags. So we sell those. Again, it's a kind of donation scheme. We tried listing some on Vinted, but there's a huge amount of work that goes into that. So what we've tried to do is collaborate with independent pre-loved clothing sellers around the country, and they become kind of like an ambassador for With Love From. So we send them a few items at a time, and they can do like a video call with us, or if they're local, they can come and browse, select a few items, and then they sell them to their audience for us, and then they make a donation back to With Love From, so that whatever their business model is, if it's a percentage of the sale or if they want to do it straight away and then they purchase the items, they can choose the amount that they give us, but it's getting those items into circulation again. It's supporting those independent pre-loved clothing sellers, and it's matching those items up with the right people so that they can select the items that they think they can sell to their audience.
It keeps you guys going as well.
And it's selling them for us because we don't have the capacity. If one of our volunteers came to us and said, I'll sell all the items for you, I'll list them on Vinted or I'll sell them to my network, then that would be great. But it's not happened yet. So we're working with different teams of people, so different ambassadors to sell those for us.
Vinted is becoming a bit tired, I think. Now and again, you can find, like, my wife's amazing again. She'll get a bundle of kids' clothes that, I'll be like, how much are you spending on them? She'll be like, £7. And I'll be like, what? In a big bag full. She's amazing, right? And there are those that are just trying to sell things to give them a new lease of life, like we said, which is great. It's really good. But there's also a lot of like career sort of sales on there. People trying to make money. On a, it's almost like it become a market stall, isn't it, for a lot of people, which kind of takes like the idea away from it, doesn't it? I suppose. I mean, if it is a vintage item, like, I'm obsessed with hats. I got hats all up my walls, so they're everywhere. And there's a line of hats called Yums, which is I absolutely adore. But they stopped manufacturing in the UK, so they suddenly became collector's items. Now, those items, I get it. I totally understand. But like your everyday T-shirts and your things that could be like a couple of quid, they're putting like 10, 20 quid on them. And it's a bit maddening.
And it is that balance, isn't it? And I think what I'm trying to encourage people to do is strive for progress, not perfection. And some people might say, oh, I couldn't do secondhand clothing because I'd never find jeans that would fit me, or I have a particular type of jean that I need to go for, or I couldn't.
Give me those apple bottom jeans.
But then, so I would say to those people, do secondhand clothing shopping for everything except your jeans. Buy brand new jeans if that's your thing. Go with them. But everything else, try to get it secondhand or try to source it somewhere else. Let's all try to take steps, and if those are tiny baby steps, that's fine. But let's all start this journey, and it's never too late to start this journey. You can start by making a small impact and just making some tiny little changes. And I think most people will find that it's better for their wallet and their finances, better for their mental health. I think we will all start to embrace our own sense of style rather than trying to follow some message that's been sent to us. I think women in particular are sent multiple messages every single minute about what they should be buying and what they should be wearing and what they should aspire to. And like, not just in the fashion industry, but in the beauty industry and just every aspect of our life, the diet industry, we are sent so many messages. And I think if you step away from that, you can start to think about what you like and what you want, and that might be fabrics or colours or textures. Or
I love individuality.
Patterns. Absolutely, so and fashion and clothing, and it should be a way to express yourself. It should be positive, and it should be an art form. We should feel good in the clothes that we're wearing, and I think big brands and corporations and our society at the moment has got swept up in this idea of if we don't feel good in the clothes that we've just bought, we'll look for that rush again. So we will go and buy the next thing, or it'll be different this time, or I'm going to buy 2 of these, or maybe and then you just bounce around. You're like, I need to be different to suit this item of clothing. But surely that item of clothing should make you feel good if it's the right piece of clothing for you. And when people feel good in a piece of clothing, they look good.
Yeah.
That confidence
Yeah, totally feel that.
makes them look amazing.
I feel like Instagram is Instagram, TikTok, these kind of things where everything seems to look perfect. Do you know what I mean? I love individuality. There's been lots of focus on lots of guys and girls sort of dressing the same at the moment. Lots of girls in the sort of beige or black t-shirts and the jeans. Like there's lots of that happening at the moment, which is fine. If you want to be with your clan and your people, that's absolutely fine. But individuality, I think, is just so important. Like you can't look at something like social media and get your tips from that. You got to, like you said, you got to put on what you feel good. I love a good shacket. I love shackets and shirts. That's always been my style. You know, that's just me, and I'm happy with that. But there's also something I've noticed recently. It's not even recent. It's always been a thing. When you walk into somewhere like George or you look at Primark, whatever, the guys will have a corner. And then the rest of the store is this grotesque amount of women's clothing. It's aisle after aisle after aisle. I went with my son the other day to buy him some trousers, I believe. I can't remember. We were on our way somewhere. I was like, I'll get some trousers on the way. And we went to George in Shrewsbury. And there was like 2 different types of trousers for his age. And the rest was all just girls' clothing. And I was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this ratio that we're looking at right now? Why does that exist?
I know.
Isn't it weird?
And I think it's been building for a very long time. We find that the turnover of women's clothing, so the shared wardrobe is majority, on the whole, is women's wear. But I think, like you said, that's reflective of wardrobes at home. You know, women have been conditioned into thinking we need new. Every occasion that comes up, you need to have something new to wear. Whereas men, I think, are better at or have a slightly different attitude. So they will have a piece of clothing that maybe they are interested in repairing or altering or customizing as they grow and over time they want to hold on to those pieces a bit longer, and I think with the shared wardrobe as well, I think lots of women are swapping and sharing informally at home with friends and family.
Yeah, sure,
if you find somebody that likes or if you go to one party with a group of friends and you're going to another event in a few months, you might see somebody wearing something that's about your size and is a friend of yours, and you might say, oh, could I borrow that for this party? And I think people do it informally. And
hand-me-downs as well.
Organises it. So when you were talking about children's wear, I've got 3 young children, and my son is a football fan and he supports Tottenham, and a family friend has got a boy who's a few years older than him, and they're Tottenham fans as well.
Oh,
so
cool.
when he comes around with a bag of clothes, my son gets really excited, and then we've got so many hand-me-downs. I think because of this project and because my friends know about, so friends in the village who have children that are older than mine will, bring us bags of clothes from their children as they grow out of things. And my kids absolutely love it. And then we hand things to cousins or younger friends who are around, and it's such a nice, like when you see their faces, like there is not, I think maybe the generation before ours, perhaps a little bit in our generation as well, there was a kind of a stigma around second-hand clothing. But when I see my children being given these clothes, and I remember having clothes from older cousins and things like that, and I loved them. And I think part of that is that story, that connection to the person who owned it before. And it was something we were really keen to bring into this project, because it's called With Love From. So any items that you donate are labelled up With Love From and then your name. And I think it adds to that idea that pre-loved clothing is more special in a way because it's got that past and that story, and that history to it. It's not just another piece of clothing that's been mass produced. And I mean, there is so much out there. Vinted is full of millions of items of clothing that have been mass produced. You know, we're at a point now where you don't get that many vintage pieces of clothing in charity shops because there is just so much. We're inundated. Charity shops are inundated. They can't sell all the clothing that we're dumping on them. And donation, you know, the word donation came from that idea of gifting.
Yeah.
To
dumping.
gift something.
Yeah.
So it should be in good condition, and it should be something that you would give to a friend, or, you know, you wouldn't pass it down to somebody if you didn't want to put your name to it, you know, if you were ashamed of it or didn't like it. So
hand-me-downs were great though. I mean, I think it's just really nice that, like you said, there is that connection. I got a story about there's a gentleman. I'm a Shrewsbury Town fan, season ticket holder, and been going for the last 3 seasons. And there's a gentleman I simply know as, we call him Grandad. It's got to a stage now where we speak to him every game. I don't know his name, and it's too late to ask. Do you know what I mean? And he's probably going to listen to this and be like, oh my God. So every time I see him in the game, I'm like, all right, how's it going? And then my wife would be like, who are you chatting to? I'll be like, Grandad, she'll know exactly who I'm talking about. And he came up to me this one game and he goes, oh, your lad, he'll fit these trousers, won't he? And they were from his grandkids. And he gave us these Shrewsbury Town tracksuit bottoms. And I was like, oh my God, that's really nice of you. Thank you so much. And that was just like a little gesture, and Timmy's face lit up. He was like, oh my God, Shrewsbury Town bottoms, you know. And, you know, yeah, there is something special about that, isn't there?
I think it's so nice. And
thank you, Grandad.
Yeah. Does he know your name?
Yeah, I'm the biscuit guy. He knows my name.
Maybe he'll be thinking, oh, I need to know that guy's name now.
I do kind of stick my nose in a lot of what Shrewsbury Town's doing. They're kind of like, oh, here he is again. So yeah, he knows who I am. But like one day I'll be like, what's your name again? Like, it's one of those things you just don't want to make that leap, do you know what I mean? But it's cool. When it comes to what you're doing right now, how quickly did it sort of gather momentum? Did it take a while to get to the wardrobe size you got now? So
when we brought the initial collection over to Oswestry Library, so we started it as we had a point system, and we used to run pop-up shops. So we had monthly pop-up shops, and people could donate in, earn points, and then spend those points in our pop-up shops. And that was working okay, but we got to the point where people wanted to make appointments between pop-up shops, and managing that and staffing it was quite difficult. So a lot of our volunteers, I had to gather volunteers for a certain date or a pop-up shop event, and you had to make sure people were available at a certain time on a certain day. We initially brought over 400 items to the shared wardrobe, and officially that started in January last year. So we've been running just almost to the day. We've been running we've been running a year, and we had that collection of 400 items, and then that has now grown. So we've got over 1,000. I think we're at probably 1,100, I'd say, around this point now. So in a year, the library collection has grown by 700 pieces.
Wow.
700 items. So we've got clothing, footwear and accessories in the wardrobe at the moment.
And that's things coming and going as well, isn't it? So it's like,
yeah. So we need to look at the data. I think we're getting to that. So we've come to that annual point. We've got to that year point now. So Siobhan, the library manager that you mentioned earlier, and I will sit down and go through the data and look at exactly how many people have used it. I know we looked at it in those first kind of 6 months, and the activity or the take up was definitely growing. You know, each month it was building, and it's really nice to see that. And I think this project has all been about trying different things and experimenting a little bit, pilot this, and let's have a look and see, get the feedback in and see what people want and need and how it works, and shift and change and flex it. And I think now we're at a point where it is working and it's building. I like the fact that it's building slowly and it's those real connections with people, and the word is spreading organically rather than trying to keep up with big brands and promote it this way or get loads of money into it. It's not driven by those values. You know, the values and the purpose behind it is completely different. And if that means that we take our time with this, then I'm happier with that. We have taken it on a roadshow. So at the end of last year, so September, October time, we did a roadshow for Sustainable Fashion Week, which is a global campaign where they tried to raise awareness for sustainable fashion options and choices and change people's mindsets and raise some awareness for some of the concerns and the challenges caused by the current fashion system. So the way the library network operates, anyone with a Shropshire Library card can borrow outfits from the shared wardrobe in Oswestry, but you have to travel to Oswestry Library to browse and borrow those outfits. You can return them to your local library and they will come back on the trucks with the books, and the collection all moves round. So there is a logistical network set up, you know, that operationally that works with clothing in exactly the same way as the books. But for accessibility and for people to be able to browse that collection and donate into that collection and get involved in a project like this, we would love to take it to more libraries around the world. We're going to start with Shropshire. And so we did the roadshow around 5 other big libraries in Shropshire, and we took a small collection to those libraries and we told them about what we're doing, and we had such a positive response from the people that we spoke to and the library staff in the different libraries. I think those other libraries are keen to set up a dressing up collection, so we're going to help them to do all of them to do that. The biggest barrier to setting up a shared wardrobe in those libraries was space, really.
Sure.
So they were all really keen to get involved with it, but some of them don't have the space and the capacity to do that. Shrewsbury Library we're talking to about hopefully setting it up later this year. So we're really keen.
You've got plenty of space there. It's almost like a castle, isn't it? It's massive.
It's such a beautiful library, and I love the history and the stories behind that library. It's an incredible. It's definitely worth a visit if you live in and around Shrewsbury. Check out your local library.
If you live in Shrewsbury and you have done all your life and you've never popped your head into the library, you need to, because upstairs, in one of the rooms, all the wood that runs alongside the room is all ancient graffiti carved into the wood. It's wonderful. It really is wonderful to see, and the views as well. Good.
It was originally a school,
yes,
and it was where Charles Darwin went to school. So yeah, it's just the history there. It's like goosebump moment when you walk in. It's a beautiful building, and it's and the staff are amazing, as they are in all libraries. I think we've said I'm a big advocate for libraries, but hopefully we're going to bring it to Shrewsbury Library in the next few months or later this year, and we need everyone's support with that. So if you're listening to this and you are keen to get involved, there are so many different opportunities for you to join the cause and support this project. So we're looking for funding, but also we need volunteers. And if you're not able to give time, or you don't think you can commit to being a volunteer at this stage, just spread the word. Help us, share what we're doing, and reach out to other people, talk to friends about it. And then when and if we do bring it to Shrewsbury, use the shared wardrobe, organise a little gathering at your house and get some friends to come down and have some fun choosing outfits,
That'd
and then have a little dinner party.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And all get dressed up.
I've got suits of all different stages of Whiteley. Honestly, I've got like skinny right through to what I am now. So, yeah, there's definitely donations ready to go.
Yeah.
What I think is really important here is the community aspect. And you're talking about young people bringing in their clothes or having a go picking up clothes, and it's that message from me to you. It's getting young people and other people as well connected with the community, which I think is really important in this day and age, because I feel like human connection is waning a little bit. I feel like there's lots going on at the moment where people are forgetting what it is to be societal and to be a community. So that is really, really important to me. The library needs something like this, because obviously, like I was talking to you earlier about when I first started seeing like DVDs and things being at libraries, I was kind of like, oh, that's a good idea. But now I look around, there's like a castle fort built here for the kids to go and sit in. There's jigsaw puzzles, there's books, there's clothes, there's computers, there's tables there for researching, there's amazing pod that I'm recording in today. This is how the library is evolving into something that is, like you said, a huge community hub where people can come and almost facilitate what they need.
And that's there's space for people to work and run businesses. You can base yourself here it's not just for studying, and it's not just for books. There's language courses, music lessons, there's advice on everything you can think of. And I think that is something that we've lost from our community at the moment. I think, way back when, or back in the day, people would have got together with their local community to maybe weave or knit or make fabric, or groups of people would have got together for different activities that would have benefited
poetry clubs and writing,
benefited their communities, whether it was helping at the local farm, or building something together, or any different kind of group of people. But then those intergenerational groups are so important, because younger people might need some advice or guidance, and older people have that life experience to be able to say, I've been there, I've done that, or this is what I did, or this is what my friend did when they went through that. And it doesn't have to be as formal as counselling or therapy, but we don't have that at the moment, unless you're lucky enough to be born into a family where you have that support network, or find some friends who can help you, or maybe you have older cousins or somebody who's been through similar things to what you're going through. And I think that's where that loneliness and isolation come from, because we're all feeling like we're the only ones going through whatever it is you might be going through. If you don't have those people in your network that you can reach out to and talk to about something, as a community, we need to help people find those networks, and we need to help people make those connections and have those conversations. It doesn't really matter who you're talking to, but it's so important that you talk about how you're feeling or what you're going through.
Yeah. It's good when it happens organically as well. When you talk about, time out guys in the pub, or, even playing on Xbox, Roblox with your kid, you're a strange kid who lives in a different place. If you've got shared parenthood, and you kind of like having to meet your child on Roblox because that's the only place you can do that. Or there are places where we have these abilities to communicate with each other, but they're kind of inbuilt with what we're already doing. I was talking recently about I was meant to go to a poker game with the Saha lads. How's it going, lads? A poker night. I couldn't go to this poker night, which I've been looking forward to for so long, and it devastated me, because that was I don't really go out that often, and I don't really go out drinking with the lads or anything like that. That was my night I was looking forward to, and it was devastating to not be able to go and to do that. We need to be able to have times where we can be around other people and share our feelings. Like you said, I'm totally on board with that. Men's sheds are doing a great job with these kind of things with guys. the library offering what they're offering right now is great, because I feel like there's lots of they're adapting to society, like you said, offering those spaces for people to come together.
Yeah,
and that's important.
I think it's so important, and there are so many different groups in libraries. You can find one that you can connect with or support. Maybe you've got skills that you can offer. Maybe you can volunteer with something, and that might lead to other choices and career paths. Or I
like the idea. I spoke to Laura from Raven Books in Shrewsbury. She's a great ambassador for literature. And literature, by the way, doesn't always have to be from a book. Like, books are stories, they're ideas, they're innovations, they're imaginary. You can listen to an audiobook. You can take part in writing music. Writing is literature. When you text on your phone, that's literature. It's all about like being able to access that data, because once you get that data and you put it into you, you can do amazing things with it. So like I like the idea of possibly working with libraries to bring writers together, to maybe create some sort of Shropshire libraries. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something there that maybe we can work with to kind of get people talking about the library, right? Because if it's part of our conversations, then we'll remember that they exist.
Absolutely, yeah. Anything that encourages people to visit their local library, to engage with their local community, I think is really important. And it gives people a sense of purpose as well. I think that's so important for human beings. We get so much out of that sense of purpose. It's so good for our well-being. If you feel like you are supporting your local community or doing something for a cause, a greater good, whatever it might be, it gives you that drive and it keeps you going. And I think that's important for people's mental health.
I used to love when I was a kid coming to the library. We used to go on Encarta on the computer. You're the same age as me. Yeah. And we used to find comic books. My lad is he's 11, and reading is like, it's not a chore, but it's kind of like, right, sit down, do your reading now. He's kind of like, roll your eyes and that sort of. He's just found graphic novels, sort of aimed at his age group, and now he's firing on all cylinders. He's reading. It may be a graphic novel, but he's reading, and he's found his knack.
So I mentioned I've got 3 children, and my 2 eldest. So my youngest has just started school, so I'm not sure what her spark will be with books, but they all love books. But it fascinates me how different they can be. So my eldest, my son, he likes books that you can open on any page. And like there might be fact books, joke books, comic books, like those where they've got like little pockets of information. If I gave him a novel, a Harry Potter book or something, he would open it and it's like he would switch off straight away, or he'd be like, "You read it to me," or "Can I get an audio book?" or something like that. But a book that he can open on any page. So he loves graphic novels and things like that, and he will race through them, and he retains that information.
Yeah,
When he was little, he loved animals and animal encyclopedia, and now he will go back to those books, and when he's sitting reading in the evening, he'll open it on any page and he will tell me about animals or a fact that he's just learned. He loves joke books as well, so he's a comedian. But my daughter, so she's 8, and she has always loved books, and when she started reading chapter books, it was like amazing for her. And so she will be the complete opposite, and she'll look at how many pages are in the book, and it's almost like, right, the challenge appeals to her, and she gets so much out of it. And I think the thing that's really important about reading or about literature, about stories, is that it gives, for children especially, but all of us, it builds our empathy, because it allows us to experience things safely and have an understanding of what's going on in other people's minds from their perspective. You know, it really helps people understand. So if my daughter read a book and it's got a character in it who has a disability or comes from a different country and is maybe a refugee, it will, if she comes into contact with somebody who's been through those same experiences, she will have a deeper sense of empathy for what they've been through because she's heard about it before, because she's felt those things that person is going through without actually going through it herself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that does make sense. It's nice to be in that bubble. It really is nice to be in that. I haven't read in a while because I'm so busy. I loved the Sharp series, Bernard Cornwell's Sharp series, and the library was great for that, by the way, because there was like there's over like 25 in the whole series, and they're all been written from the 1980s onwards, and to try and find the next one, it was always hard, especially before Amazon. So you come to your library, oh my god, they got it, and then you take it home. That'd be really, really good. When the series sort of stops, though, when you're in a series and it stops, you kind of lose the will to live. You know,
it can be really heartbreaking, can't it? When you're waiting for the next one.
Absolutely. No, I love the idea that sometimes stories can drive us in different. Like Gerard Way is a perfect example. My Chemical Romance, guy sitting on $100 million easy, like with one of the biggest rock bands in the world. I was like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to write the Umbrella Academy. I mean, you know, that's just an insane thing to do. But he creates one of the biggest independent comic books of all time, which then becomes a Netflix show. Like, he did it. I mean, not everybody's Gerard Way, but like, it just shows how literature and ideas and imagination can drive us sometimes.
Yeah. And help you find that sense of purpose, or find it. It's an explorative way to discover more about yourself as well, and
Absolutely.
what you like and what your passions are.
Amazing. Well, look, I love what you're doing. I think this is an incredible idea because it's a great use for giving clothes new life, but it's a reaching out into the community. It's offering something, it's taking something. It's kind of like that to and fro, quid pro quo. You know, you help me, I'll help you. And that is what community is all about, isn't it?
It's really driven by the community. You know, it is a reflection of the community, and I love the fact that if we do take it to other libraries, no two shared wardrobes will be the same. You know, they'll all be maybe coordinated by a different group of volunteers who have a different skill set. Maybe it'll be a tailor in one town will be the lead volunteer for their shared wardrobe. Maybe it'll be a pre-loved clothing seller in another town who will drive that one. Maybe it'll be somebody who's just passionate about sustainable fashion. Maybe it'll be somebody who's a stylist and, you know, wants to develop the creative side of it and help people express themselves.
I love when people upscale stuff. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Furniture or clothes. I think some people are so creative with it, you know, especially if there's a new pair of shoes that's kind of like, you know, kind of not with it anymore. And also like certain fashion things come back. I mentioned apple bottom jeans earlier, but they came back recently and it's like, what? They were a thing back in the, you know what I mean? It's crazy how, you know, there might be somebody, you know, from another, you know, sort of decade that might have them in their wardrobe and be like, these are back out again. Maybe we can sell them on, or we can give them to someone that appreciate them. It's amazing. What I was going to do, I was going to see if Siobhan's about, actually. Maybe we can grab her for fun. But listen, is this on social media? Can people follow it? Can people like get in touch with you, message you?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So we have a website, withlovefrom.org.uk. We are on Instagram and Facebook. So if you just search for With Love From, you'll find us on there. And we're really keen for people to get involved, engage with it, contact us, reach out to us. You can get in touch with us via email, any of those platforms, or pop into your local library and mention it to the library staff.
When you come to Shrewsbury, you're going to have to get you back on the podcast. You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, we're back in Shrewsbury now.
We'll have a regular feature on the
podcast. Wherever this goes, the biscuit, you got my support. Anyway, this is brilliant. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
It's been really nice to talk to you.
Thank you. So I can't come to the library without speaking to my good friend Siobhan, who we go way back, don't we?
We do.
Yeah. We're talking about like us inside of Siobhan, probably people haven't seen here. We're working at the prison, doing our acting back in the day. How have you been? You been good?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, we're busy here at the library as always, but yeah, having a good time.
I used to come here a lot when I worked for the council. I used to be part of the rough sleeper team, so I used to come up with my laptop, sit in a corner somewhere, and make a plan and be out there and about. I was like really surprised by. It was nice surprised, but how busy and how unique the library is here, because it's a place to study, it's a place to learn, it's a place for the kids to come and. I mean, is that a new thing? Has that always been like a thing of Oswestry Library?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's definitely part of the fabric here. I mean, it is for public libraries in general anyway. I think that there's been a move certainly in the last 10, 15 years towards libraries becoming more community hubs than perhaps they have been before. But certainly Oswestry Library enjoys a really close connection with its community. We've got a really responsive community here that really values its library, and lots of folks like Lizzie that come in and help us to create these really great sort of partner projects, finding really creative ways to use the space and different ways of kind of sharing resources and skills and all kinds of things in the building. And yeah,
it's really nice to see, because a few years ago it felt like we were going to lose libraries for a second there. We were kind of on the last thread, and it's kind of like we're closing this library down, we're closing that library down. I used to love when I was a kid, I was growing up in Dorley in Telford. I used to escape out and go and sit in the library. I used to say, but I used to go and look at Encarta or look at a book, or there'd be these Simpsons comic books that were up. I used to just go and escape, and it is just that, isn't it? It's somewhere to come and just be around something that you enjoy doing.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that fundamentally, that's what public libraries are about. They belong to the community. It's a community space, so. It's our job as public library staff to obviously look after that space, but it's also our job to work with the community and figure out what the community wants from its library and help them to facilitate that, really. So yeah, I mean, it can be tricky balancing all the different expectations, because of course some people want to come in and study, some people want to come in and have a rhyme time, or have a noise
podcast.
Yeah. But do you know what? We are infinitely flexible, and we're really good at that. We're kind of and I feel like because people understand that a library is a shared space, usually people are really happy to kind of work with each other and work around each other, and we find that it comes together in a really nice sort of creative and organic way.
I think it's really good as well that you've got like different things for different people, but it might entice them onto another. So like you've got Lizzie's shared wardrobe here, it might bring people and go, oh, they've got Twilight on book, like audiobook. I mean, like they might entice them to go on to something else, which is really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That's very much part of it. So yeah, certainly the any extra strand that gets added to the library service is just a huge benefit to everybody, because exactly as you say, folks will come in for one thing, they'll come in with one question and they'll leave. Nobody leaves empty-handed at the library. Everybody that walks in walks out with something they didn't have before, which is really, I think it's a really special thing. I think libraries are really special in that way. They're really unique in that way, and I think we need to do everything that we can to protect and hold on to them, really.
Is it nice for you when there's like a new IP out there that kind of generates a lot of interest in reading? We mentioned Twilight, but there's like Percy Jackson, and there's all these new books that come out that become a Netflix show or something, and then kids maybe start walking into the library a bit more. Do you see a bit of that now?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. As soon as there's sort of a big hitter in the cinema or something, it's like, right, we better check the stock, make sure that we've got lots of copies of that.
We've got Lord of the Rings,
make sure that we've got all of those. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, it can be affected by movies that come out. It can be affected by, obviously, new books that go viral and stuff. We're sort of keeping an eye on BookTok these days as well, and see what's really popular. But yeah, it's surprising. I mean, also you can see people circling back and revisiting the old classics as well quite often, which is that sort of comes around in waves, if you like. So yeah, it is nice.
How do you keep on top of your stock? Because I mean, there's obviously the Amazons and the Audibles out there where people just buy. We've just been talking about consumerism, how it's taken us over. So there's probably people sitting there with bookshelves of books they've not read in years. Do people donate books to the library? How do you kind of manage all that?
Yeah, they absolutely can do that. So we do have to sort of obviously put parameters around that. So if it's really good stuff, it's in good nick, and it's something that we could do with having on the shelf, then they absolutely will be put into stock. Otherwise, what we can do is we'll take donations that either perhaps it's something that we've got lots of in stock already, so we don't need more, or perhaps it's slightly less good condition. That what we'll do is we'll put it into our book sales. So we've got friends groups, sort of support groups of volunteers that will run book sales in our building to fundraise, and then that pot of money will be put towards things like running events and summer events for the kids and things like that. So
that's
we can always make use of them if they're in decent.
Again, community.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we feed everything back into the community. Anything that comes our way, we will find a way to just sort of redeploy that in the community, and that's what libraries are for.
How important is it to sort of, I say, stay with the times? That's a really miserable way of looking at things, but keep your ears to the ground about what's changing around the universe, because obviously there's new technologies, there's, like we mentioned, new IPs, new ideas all the time. Is it important for you guys to stay on top of all this? And how do you do that?
Definitely. I mean, we have to keep a weather eye, certainly on technological developments, because, of course, public libraries are about connecting people with information, and the way that people access that information will fundamentally affect how we work. So if people are suddenly accessing a lot of information online rather than in books, then the best way we can facilitate them to get hold of that is to have digital resources, right? So yeah, absolutely, it is a constant dialogue. Certainly things, sort of those horizon technologies like VR and AI and things like that, they are presenting really interesting new ideas for how
I love the idea of how VR could really enhance literature.
Yeah. There's been some fantastic projects done in libraries, not in Shropshire yet, we haven't gone there yet, but I forget where it was now, but there was some sort of VR augmented reading experiences where you read your book, and while you're reading the book, you're wearing your headset and you've got sort of VR elements coming into like moving illustrations of the story. So all kinds of really exciting frontiers there.
I love that. I love AR as well, how you can take something that's, I think Apple are working on that at the moment. So AR is augmented reality. So you're looking on as if you're walking around now and you can see that, but there'll be arrows pointing at things, or there's signs on the floor that you can see as you're walking along. There's a podcast that I call, if you like comedy podcasts, it's called Take Off Your Shoes Podcast by Rick Glassman. And he'll get stars to come and sit on his sofa. But as they're talking, they'll have all these little goblins come around doing rude things to him, or just doing silly things. And that for me is augmented reality mixed with podcasts. That's kind of oh my God, it keeps you interested, keeps your eyes moving. That's a really cool idea, how technology. And I know we talk about AI and how AI can be damaging to literature and stuff, but it can also enhance it as well. The instant translate thing on Google is incredible. We like to go on EDTs, day trips, extreme day trips, and when you're going somewhere and you're struggling where to go, and you can just get your phone and be instant translate. Amazing. That's literature.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a common misconception that libraries are sort of anti-everything, digital, that we're boo, ebooks, and, that's absolutely not the case. We're excited about the potential applications of all technology to what we do, because, books are obviously a huge part of what we do, but at their core, books are not necessarily what we do, they are how we do it. They're one of the ways that we do it, and what we're fundamentally doing is connecting people to what they need. So whether that is clothes, whether that is a digital resource, if that's an ebook, if that's a VR, whatever it is, that libraries will be there.
It's always been an evolution, from scrolls to books to cassettes to CDs to whatever, so it's nice to see. Is there anything you need more of? Is there anything that anybody listening to this, part of the community, that you kind of need people for? Is there anything that people can bring in or do or be a part of?
But you know what? Genuinely, it always comes back to this. The best way, if people believe in libraries and they want to see libraries survive into the future, the best way that you can support that is to walk in through the door. It remains the most powerful statistic we have is physical visitors. So if people can come in and visit us, see what we have, if you've got ideas of what would be nice to have in your community, come in and have a word with the library staff. If you've got a talk you'd like to deliver, together, or you think it'd be really nice if there was something like a knitting group or a chess club or, I don't know, an art group, sketchbook group, whatever.
Not a rock band, though. Not the library.
Not quite stretched to that yet, unfortunately. But anything that is your interest, where you wonder if other people in your community would be interested in that, come in and have a word with us, and we will help you to start something. And that's where things, little seedlings like that, that's where things grow from, and you'd be surprised how much it can take off.
Like what Lizzie's doing here. If this takes off into Shrewsbury or into Ludlow or up, and further out of Shropshire, by the way, Ludlow Library is amazing, by the way.
It's very cool.
Used to be an office right at the top. I used to sit there and I could see the whole view of the time.
It's an amazing library.
It's awesome.
It really is.
But if it can spread like wildfire into becoming something that is a community project across the country, amazing.
Yep.
Listen, thank you so much for chatting to me. I know you're pressed for time.
That's all right.
It's great to reconnect with you. And I just want to put this out there that we were meant to create a connection with the Writer Labs in Shrewsbury. Joe Schumann was a valuable resource for that. If there's anything I can do for Shropshire Libraries and anybody's listening to this and you want to work with me, get in touch and we can put something together.
Lovely.
Brilliant. Thank you. Cheers. And there we go. What a great episode that was. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Siobhan. And thank you to the staff at Oswestry Library for being so accommodating. It was really nice to have these booths that you can kind of book and stuff. So we went into a booth and it looked like a professional podcast studio. It was amazing. If I could pick that up and just drop that in the middle of Shrewsbury somewhere, I'd be happy with that. Just a glass box like Hannibal Lecter with a microphone. Can you imagine that? Be careful. Stay distance. He's chained to the wall. And I'm like, welcome to the biscuit. Oh, God. God, being poorly's kind of repressed my mind a bit. I think I'm going through these crazy thoughts, having great ideas. I mean, for example, right, Tat FB, the Cake Tunist, has just messaged me, and we want to plan a podcast soon because it's been ages since I sat down properly and spoke to her, and she's got a book coming out, and I was like, let's do something fun. I want to do an episode with her that's just ridiculous, and so we come up with some ideas. I'm thinking maybe we can do it on camera with a taste test. I don't know, as we're going through. I don't know about chewing down a microphone, but yes, Tat FB, absolutely welcome back on this podcast because you're a rock star. So yes, as I mentioned in the intro, next week we're going to be coming from Shrewsbury Castle. Don't tell anybody I just did that. That's a one-off, that's for sure. We're coming from Shrewsbury Castle, all the soldiers of Shropshire Museum to be exact, because they are holding a very cool event. Very cool, especially if you enjoy the TV show The Traitors. They're going to be running their very own, Shrewsbury's very own version of The Traitors that you can take part in. Now, you'll learn more about it in the podcast next week, but by all means, go to the Soldiers of Shropshire Facebook page, Instagram page, give it a Google, and take a look for yourself, and I'll give you all the information next week. Now, I need to a quick little mention of the review that we released last week for, I need to get this right, the Red Barn. I for some reason I always call it the Red Cow. It's not the Red Cow, it's the Red Barn, and that's in Coleview. You know the one about that. You know the pub I'm on about because the Indian food, the curries from there are legendary. And I thought I'd challenge them. I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. I know a good curry when I see one. And so I took my phone there and I was blown away. It was actually filmed on Christmas Eve, but I released it last week. I've been so busy with work and what have you. So yes, and that was really well received. Now, if you want me to come, if I can do something to help hospitality in Shrewsbury with my phone and 20 minutes of editing, I'll come and help you out. If you want me to come and edit a new review a new dish, or if you just opened a new restaurant or something and you want me to come along, give me a shout. I'm doing this to help businesses. I'm not trying to make a business myself. I know how much people are struggling, and lots of people saw that review. So get in touch if you want me to come and pay you a visit. And it's all about positivity at the end of the day. I'm here to tear your menu apart. I'm here to help. And you can catch that review on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. If you're not already following us, give us a follow because it really helps. And if you want to find out more about me, you can go to the website, which is the shrewsburybiscuitpodcast.co.uk, and that is lovingly made for us by our friends at Web Orchard. If you need a website for whatever it is you do, no judgment, Okay, whatever it is you do, they'll make the perfect website just for you. And if you do go and buy a website just on the power of hearing about them on the Shrewsbury Biscuit, tell them I sent you, okay? Because that really helps. They give me a pat on the back. That's kind of how this works, you know? But thank you, Web Orchard, for a great website. Guys, yes, next week I'll be coming to you from Shrewsbury Castle. And yeah, hope you all have a great day. And much love to you all. Peace out.
I took my lumps, roll with the punches, made my bed, ignored my hunches. I focused on the wrong stuff, but baby, you are the change now. Let them talk, let them talk, let them talk. Took my lumps, roll with the punches, made my bed, ignored my hunches. I focused on the wrong stuff, but baby, you are the change.